When the one with the rifle gets killed, the one who is following picks up the rifle and shoots.
Welcome to the 23rd episode of the Pick Up the Rifle and Shoot series, featuring my 1944 Mosin Nagant 9130 PU sniper. It's been a long time coming for this episode. The anticipation stepped in as soon as I got her more than 2 years ago. And since then, my 9130 and Chinese Type 53 have already been featured, and she was all that was left in my Mosin collection. I guess you can say, good things come to those who wait, and waiting is something I didn't mind, since it took 5 years to find her, always being outbid or just too late to post I'll take it on several gun forums. I had to take a leap of faith on a particular auction, bid high, sight unseen, and just hope for the best, and I'm so glad I did. So here she is, my 1944 Mosin Nagant 9130 PU sniper. Now, the only other rifle I own with an optic is my C782 style build, with an Elcan C79, and that's truly an amazing optic, and shooting with one is still something new to me. As much as I prefer irons, there is something about the PU sniper, aside from its nostalgia and history, that really appealed to me. The more I learned how the scope and mount work and actually apply it on the range, it was very satisfying, especially after seeing the results. In fact, it turned out to be my most accurate large centerfire rifle that I own. Imagine that. Now, I'll go over more detail, but first, let's make sure she's all clear. First up is the metal butt plate and stock. The stock is heavily refinished and cannot make out any definitive proofs or markings. However, it does appear to be the original, as it fits the receiver nice and tight, and also has shims on the top and bottom for the action screws. Next is the metal butt plate, which is numbered and matches the receiver. Next up is the receiver with the PU scope and mount. The receiver was drilled and tapped for the mount's base, as well as the stock being cut to fit. The scope mount itself is secured to the base with a front ball joint, with a giant thumb screw in the rear holding everything down. Moving along, here's a closer view of the left side of the receiver. We can see the serial number of the rifle, and to its left, the scrub serials of the previous PU scopes the rifle had. Still barely visible, but they are there. Next is the scope, which appears to be the original that was scrubbed and electro-penciled with the serials of the refurbished scope and the rifle itself. You can all see the scope mount's base, which has adjustment screws for elevation. As for windage, you would either have to ground down the scope mount itself or shim it. Moving along, here you can see the scope turret drums have dome screws, which is an indication of a genuine PU scope. Now after adjustments are made on the scope's mount, the finer adjustments can be done on the scope to establish zero, while trying to keep the reticle as center as possible. And lastly, on the scope body has the engraved serial number and the year of the refurbished scope. Very cool. Now, on the top of the barrel shank, you can see the ZES symbol with the manufacture date of 1944, along with other various proof marks, with the most notable on the right. The C in the circle which notates an accuracy proof from ZES used for their PU snipers and others. And lastly, a closer look where the original PU scope serials were scrubbed. You can still see the first part of them. Very cool. Moving along, the barrel itself is in very good condition, with strong rifling all the way from the chamber to the clean and crisp crown. On the business end, I raised the front post by sleeving it with a 12 gauge wire case, cut to length to zero the irons at 25 yards with the center mass hold and the rear sight set at 2, exactly the same way I did for my standard 9130 for my first episode. And as expected, the irons were dead on. Very cool. Now, let's go flip her on to the other side. Here's another view of the metal butt plate and stock. The stock's in very good condition with no cracks or other issues. Up next is the right side of the receiver. A closer look at the scope and mount has witness marks, which I believe was for the previous scope, as when they are lined up, the reticle is canted to the left, so I had to rotate the scope clockwise to level the reticle. Next is the matching turn down bolt, which is very smooth and easy to operate. Next is the trigger, which actually is quite nice. It is smooth with a nice clean break and actually reminds me of my Chinese Type 53s. Still definitely a lot better than my standard 9130. On the bottom, you can see the internal magazine baseplate matches the rifle and works perfectly. And lastly, on the right side of the barrel is the import mark from Century Arms. Overall, I'm very happy with my PU Sniper, and I have no doubt she's a genuine EJS refurb. From the 1944 date, the seed and circle proof, the scrub scope serials, the refurb PU scope and mount, and the shim stock, all the evidence is there. However, the proof is in the pudding, as they say, and the final confirmation would be on how she shoots. Well, let's go find out. Off to the shooting range. After I zeroed the irons at 25 yards, I headed to the 100 meter range to zero the scope. After I adjusted the mount's elevation screws and the scope's winch drum, I proceeded to shoot 3 rounds to confirm my zero. Let's see how it went. As you can see, all 3 rounds grouped very well, and was just slightly to the right of the bullseye. With the elevation spot on, I reset the elevation drum to 1 and let the winch load at 6.5, as I do plan to hand load for her in the future, and will address the windage at that time, so the reticle side picture isn't so far to the left. Now, let's see how she does at 200 yards. After I adjusted the elevation windage drums to hit as close to the bullseye as I can with the center mass hold, I proceeded to shoot 10 rounds to confirm my 200 yard zero. Let's see how it went. The target I'm using is the NRA-C 200 yard target, which has a 13-inch black circle. I also put a shoot and see 12-inch circle target from big dog targets so it's easier to see the hits. As you can see, 3 of the first 5 rounds grew very well, just to the left of the bullseye, with the elevation being spot on. And as impressive as that looks, shooting 5 rounds just isn't enough. In my opinion, 10 rounds gives the shooter the best measure of what their rifle is capable of and what they're capable of. So with that, let's load up another 5 rounds and see what she can do. As you can see, the next 5 rounds grouped in the same area, with 2 hitting the 3-round group from the first 5 rounds. It's not until I walked down range to verify that all 5 hit, and none of them were flyers. I'm truly impressed. And so, with that data, I can conclude that my 1944 Mosin Nagant 9130 PU sniper can at least do 1.85 MOA at 200 yards with the ammo that I'm using, Uli 7.62 by 54R 148 grain steel case. Shooting 10 rounds gives me an honest measurement of my capability with the ammo that I'm using. I'll measure 8 out of 10 rounds 80%, allowing 2 for shooter errors and flyers. Now, I know she can do a whole lot better than 1.85 MOA, especially looking at that 7-round group, which measured 3 inches, which is 1.5 MOA, and even better, the 5-round group, which measured 1.5 inches, which is 0.75 MOA, and all this with cheap steel case ammo. Very cool. As my intro says, when the one with the rifle gets killed, the one who is falling picks up the rifle and shoots. That's what exactly Vasily Zaitsev did, shooting 5 Nazi soldiers with 5 rounds, hands down the best scene from Enemy at the Gates. And to pay tribute to such a feat, and of course to the great Vasily, I set up 5 6-inch steel circle targets at 200 yards and challenged myself to knock them off in only 5 rounds. 5 for 5. Let's see how it went. And just like that, on my first try, 5 6-inch steel Nazi soldiers were neutralized. The power of the 7.62 by 54R round was so devastating, hearing the steel hit with such tremendous force was so awesome in itself. And seeing how far they landed was scary to say the least. I superimpose all the hits so you can see how the group looks like, further affirming the accuracy I'm getting from my 200-yard groups. I am truly amazed with the power and accuracy my PU sniper displayed. She is the most accurate large centerfire rifle that I own, a relic from 1944 to boot. Simply amazing. So there you have it. My 1944 Mosin Nagant 9130 PU sniper. Still doing it after all these years. Doing this episode is very satisfying and so fulfilling. I'm so honored to own and shoot a genuine reefer PU sniper, pretty much as is straight out of the box. I just cleaned all the cosmetic off, torqued the action screws to 25-inch pounds, and shot with modern steel case ammo, and the results speak for themselves. Truly a magnificent rifle, and proud to have her in my collection. Well, again as always, thanks for watching. Till next time.